Hi everyone, I am Nia. We also have Abby, Carla, Catherine, and Brianne, and we will be covering STEM work in Africa.
The STEM that we will be covering will be their mathematics system, the astrology, architecture, the writing system, and how their food was made. The scientific interest of astrology led to the engineering of the lunar calendar. This is a 365-day calendar which was created by the ancient Egyptians. This calendar is based off of 12 months, 3 seasons of 4 months, and the new year was determined by the rise and the fall of the Nile and also the Sirius star. The Sirius star is the brightest star in the sky. Now, the relationship between the Sirius and the Nile is that the Sirius star appeared on the 70th day, and the rise and the fall of the Nile will happen on the 80th day, which is also the new year. So, on the 70th day, the ancient Egyptians noticed that this will also signal the rise and the fall of the Nile. Also, in the calendar, we have the 3 seasons, which are Akrich, Parat, and Shumo. Parat will be in the wintertime, and Shumo is in the summer. These seasons also determine how farmers would take care of their crops. In Parat, it will be winter, so they will plant their crops. In Shumo, it is summertime, so the plants will be harvested. Also, with the calendar, we have our date. The date is not written the same way as we would. It will be written differently, which will be the month that they're in, followed by the season, followed by the day, and then followed by the year of who was in rule. So next to me, I have an example, which is the second month of Akrich, which is the season, and then in the 13th day, in the 4th year of the rule of Thutmose III. And also, I have an example of the lunar calendar.
Mathematics was also a huge part of ancient African civilizations. They've long had a counting system to represent their numbers. What they used for counting, multiplication, for measurements, also for hunting and inventory, was sticks. They used sticks that had markings that would represent groups of numbers, which could be 1, 2s, or 3s, which made it very complex understanding the math at that time. So it had very, very many purposes. Here are 2 of the earliest bones found in Africa that were used. These are, of course, not the actual bones, just pictures, just showing you a little bit. The Lobombo bone was found in South Africa, and the Ishango bone was found near Lake Edwards in between the Congo and Uganda. And as you can see, they had little markings to be able to use for measurements and also for adding and subtracting. So it had many, many uses, and it's very fascinating to see how math has changed from this using sticks and bones for counting into what they use today in Africa.
Africa, being such a large piece of land and containing such diverse elements, is a perfect example of the human's ability to adapt and use their resources around them to create beautiful and long-lasting structures. We have 3 different parts of Africa. Each are going to use different resources to create these beautiful buildings. The first we have is Defefa. It is in present-day Sudan and ancient Nubia. In 2400 BC, it was created from solid mud brick. It doesn't have any rooms inside of it, so they believe it was used for a temple and ritual and as a place for pilgrimage. It is one of the oldest and one of the largest standing today. Next, kind of close, we have Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, Lalibela was built. It was carved out of the mountain, so it was sculpted out of pure rock. What's interesting about this is the amazing angles and the precision. They also had 11 structures, and they built trenches and tunnels to get from place to place. And last but not least, we go down to Zimbabwe. In the 10th century, the Great Kigwa Mosque was built. The most amazing thing about this was it was made from coral. The columns and arches go to show the amazing architectural design that went into this. The way they did it is the coral was soft when it was living, so they were able to form it into the different shapes they wanted to, and then after that it was used, lime plaster was used, and that's also made from coral. So we have 3 different structures, all from Africa, made from 3 different resources. We have mud, we have stone, and we have coral. So it just goes to show you the resources that were incorporated to create such beautiful and long-standing architecture.
Some of the food they ate in Africa was rice, raw meat, fish, potatoes, and nuts. They would also milk cows to make yogurt, so that they could eat yogurt. Cooking was discovered in 1.4 million BC. They would dig a large pit, and then they would lie flat overlapping stones, and then they would pour water transported in skin bags and add stones from the campfire to make the food cook. Some of the other tools they had in Africa were hammer stones, stone cores, stone flakes, and spears. A shaduf was a hand-operated device for lifting water. It was a long, nearly horizontal pole mounted like a seesaw. And so this was a shaduf right here. And then a sakia was a new version of it, which consisted of buckets attached to a wheel that lifted water to fields driven by circling oxen. So it was just a newer, more advanced version of it.
A script is not only technology for writing the spoken word, it has a cultural symbol of people and who they are. Africans were known to use scripts. For example, the oldest written script that dates back to 5000 BC, and the ancient Africans, Sibidi of Nigeria, as well as the G's and many more. The G script is the only native African script in full usage at a national and everyday level. The script is used as an abugida, which means syllable alphabet, which is used for several languages. And here's an example of the G script.
This concludes our video over the STEM in Africa. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed our research and findings over what we found about ancient Africa.